Sports fans, it's PB&Z Sports Chaos. Week 1 is down in the NFL. Week 2 already kicked off last night with a pretty good game. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. College football had 2 monumental upsets last week. We'll talk about that for a minute or two. Hey, first of all, MLB. I got to talk about this, PB. We got a couple of historical things going on right now in MLB. You got 42-year-old Albert Pujols. Every day he's moving up in the record books in every other offensive category you can imagine. Recently passed A-Rod, he's number 4 in home runs. He's 4 away, right? Or was it 3 now? I forget, from 700 home runs, right?
That's a milestone and a half right there.
And at the beginning of the year, because he was, no one thought he'd still be around this year, right? No one thought he had a shot for 700. All of a sudden he's 3 away, 4 away. Do you think he gets it?
Yeah, I think he does it. Yeah, there's enough games left, right? You got another few weeks here in the season. I'd love to see him.
Every game he's at, home or away, people standing up with the cameras going. The crowd's crazy. They want to see it, right? So another historical home run thing. Aaron Judge is on pace to hit over 61 home runs, which would be the AL record, the Yankees record, and some people say the real record because the other guys cheated. But anyways, we won't talk about that now. But
McGuire.
yeah. Do you think Judge gets to 62 or more?
What's he at right now?
He's at 57.
That's going to be tough. I mean, he's got to hit a home run basically every other game, right? How many games they got left? About 10?
No, they got like 16, 17.
Oh, 16? All right. Oh, yeah, he can do it. It's a home run every 3 games. He's kind of on that pace, right? I mean, that's the pace he's on, so I think he can do it.
Speaking of the Cardinals and Mr. Pujols, his teammates, Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina, all-time record holders, battery mates. 325 games they've started together, pitcher-catcher. That's pretty impressive, do you think?
Yeah, for sure.
I heard that. I'm like, really? Wow, that's the record. And I'm like going, I guess it is. That's a lot of games. So,
yeah, you figure you get 25, 30 starts a year, right? As a starting pitcher, if you stay healthy and you can pitch through the year. So what's that? That's it's basically 11 seasons as a battery.
Their first game pitching together was 2007.
All right. So the math kind of works out there. All right.
Yeah. Hey, another one from the Cardinals, Paul Goldschmidt, right? First baseman. Him and Aaron Judge, believe it or not, respectively in each one of their leagues, are on pace to be Triple Crown winners potentially. They're both in the top 3 of all 3 offensive categories for the Triple Crown. 2 of them they lead in 1 or 2 of them each, respectively. Wow. Do we see a Triple Crown winner this year, you think?
Has anyone done it since Yaz?
No, man. Remember Miggy did it. Miggy Cabrero did it for the the Tigers in 2012.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a good one, but you got to keep hitting the ball for power, and you also got to keep hitting for average, because every time you don't get a hit, your average goes down, right? And it makes it harder to get. So
Goldschmidt's three behind the home run lead. I forget where he is in RBI. He leads the league in average. Obviously, Judge leads in home runs and RBIs, and I believe he's 10 points behind the kid from Minnesota for average. So. And our boy Bogey, he's second place for average.
Oh,
all right, let's talk a little football. It's Football Friday. We're going to talk college football first. Last week we had 3 wild games. First of all, Bama goes to Texas. Who saw that coming? Texas probably could have upset them if their starting quarterback didn't go down potentially, right?
Yeah, that play at the end was where Bryce Young escaped the sack and ran. I mean, that was a great play, but it was controversial for sure.
Yeah, so Bama's a little suspect after that, apparently, but I suspected the popcorn team they play this week, Louisiana Monroe, if I'm not mistaken, will probably lose by 40. The other one, though, there was an upset. Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, they lost to Marshall. Who saw that coming?
I watched that game. I couldn't believe it. Marshall actually looked pretty good.
They did.
I don't know if it was Notre Dame not coming to play or if Marshall's really that good.
By the way, I feel bad. I said on the beginning in our college show, I like Marcus Freeman. I hate Notre Dame. I like Marcus Freeman. I think he's going to be a good coach. But he's the first Notre Dame coach ever in history to go 0-3 in his first three games.
Man, that's rough.
All right, but the big one, which I love this one even better. I know I love seeing Notre Dame lose, but App State, Appy State, as they call them on ESPN, they went into Texas A&M, College A&M, Texas A&M, College Station, all that money that they got in NIL, and they trounced. They didn't trounce them, but they did a good job beating Texas A&M. Was that huge or what?
That was unbelievable. I mean, coming off of the previous week too, they scored 61 points against North Carolina.
By the way,
and
40 in the fourth quarter. 40 in the fourth quarter in that game.
Points in the fourth quarter. Talk about having momentum. Even though they lost the game 63-61, imagine if they had somehow pulled that game off and then went into A&M and won. They'd be ranked probably.
It would be, yeah. Hey, by the way, you know what they get out of it though? They may not be ranked, but College Game Day is in Boone, North Carolina this weekend for the College Game Day show. I already saw it earlier. They had their Friday afternoon show they do. The fans are bananas right now. A lot of them are staying overnight in the parking lot waiting for the game day show tomorrow. That should be exciting.
Nice.
Good for them. Hey, by the way, the top 10 this week, couple storylines. There is no storylines. Everybody's playing cupcakes in the top 10 this week. Every single top 10 team is favored by 20 plus this week. It's unbelievable, PB.
Right. So we'll stay away from those picks, right?
Yeah, we got a couple ranked unranked games. Let's talk about last week, college 4. Let's go. It's our college 4 play time. Last week, were we both 3-1?
Yeah, you and I had the same exact picks, college and NFL, except for the Green Bay Minnesota game, which we'll get to a little bit later. But G-Money off to a rough start. He's back-to-back 1 in 3 weeks. He's at 2-6. You 3-1 recovered nicely from your 1 in 3 start, so you're sitting at 500, 4-4. PB's got back-to-back 3-1 weeks, so I'm sitting at 6-2 right now. So let's see how we're doing for this week.
All right. First 2 games I got are the only 2 ranked versus ranked games. Number 13, your Miami Hurricanes are heading over to that Texas A&M team who got shellacked by Appy State. They need a big bounce back. By the way, they switched starting quarterbacks for this game. A&M is favored, though, by 6. What do you think?
Yeah, I like the road team here. I like Miami. I've seen Miami play their 2 games so far. They look good. I know they haven't played like formidable opponents necessarily. This will be their first test, but this is it for them. I think if they win this game on the road at A&M, that's probably their hardest road game of the year. I'm sorry, no, because they got Clemson. Besides Clemson later in the year, and then if they basically have their ticket to the college football playoff if they win this week. And that's why I like them, because now they're going to be in that situation with that Clemson game, second last game of the year.
By the way, I heard this today. If Texas A&M loses this game tomorrow, they may not even get invited to a bowl game.
Wow.
That's kind of crazy, right?
They're going to be fired up. They're going to be fired up for sure, especially coming off that loss. But 6 points is a lot. So I definitely taking Miami with the points. I think Miami can win outright.
I'm with you know what? I'm with G-Money this week. He likes them favored by A&M favored by 6. I do too as well. I think they cover. I think they get 7 on Miami in this game.
Okay.
All right, let's go. The other ranked versus ranked, number 12. So that was 13 versus 24. The other one is 12 versus 25. 12 is BYU, travels out to Oregon to face the Oregon team that got shellacked in their first game against Florida, right?
Yeah. And
Oregon's a 3.5 point favorite in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this could come down to a field goal game. So, or might even go to overtime. I don't know. I'm gonna go with BYU and the points in this one. Take the 3.5 with BYU.
G-Money's got BYU as well. You got BYU. I'm leaning towards BYU as well. Here's what I'm going to say about this. If BYU wins this game, right? They win this game. They play Notre Dame later on in the season, and they play Arkansas, who's number 10 right now. If they win this and those 2 games, they're in the college playoff. They're this year Cincinnati. So guess what? I'm going with BYU just for that fact.
All right. There you go.
All right. Penn State, number 22, goes down to Auburn, who's not ranked at all. SEC country, I'm not so sure. What do you think, Penn State and SEC country?
Yeah, and I think last year Penn State won this game between them 2 as well.
They did.
So Yeah, I like Penn State. I'm going to take Penn State. I'll lay the points on the road. I know it's a risky play. Thinking Auburn, SEC at home, getting points. I think the easier pick or the safer pick might be Auburn here, but I'm going to go on a limb with this one and take Penn State.
I'm going Penn State too. All right, the last one, I picked this only because of the historical reference to this game. They don't play anymore on a regular basis. It's Oklahoma against Nebraska. People, if you watch college football in the 70s and 80s, I watched it starting in late 70s, early 80s and going forward. That might have been the best rivalry in all of college. I know you got Auburn, Alabama, you got Michigan, Ohio State. You watch some Nebraska, Oklahoma games. It was unbelievable. I'm glad to see they're playing. Oklahoma's favored by 11. Nebraska just fired Scott Frost, who was a Nebraska alum, played quarterback for them. I think the last time they had a winning season.
Yeah.
What do you think happens? Oklahoma's favored by 11.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the superfecta here and pick my fourth straight road team this week. So I got all four road teams.
Ooh.
I'll lay the 11 and I'll take OU.
You know what? G Money's got Nebraska, but I'm with you. Oklahoma should win. If they don't win this thing hands down, there's something wrong. I mean, Nebraska, I hate to say it, Cornhusker fans, you suck. So, Oklahoma. All right, let's go to the NFL. Last night, all I heard was the charges for my man G Money. The next best thing since the 85 Bears and the 2007 Pats. But guess who won? The KC Chiefs, 27-24, with a little bit of defense, which we don't say often about KC. Were you impressed?
Yeah, that pick six obviously was more Gerald Everett not running the right route than it was the interception, but he still took it to the house after it was 9.5 yards. So give him credit for that. But yeah, I think they hung in there. I mean, holding the Chargers to, 24 points, and obviously 7 of those were on the very last drive of the game. So I think the defense held in there. But yeah, Chiefs 2-0. Good for them. We both picked them to win the division. G Money picked the Chargers, so he's in the looking in the rearview mirror now, and we're kind of ahead of him.
But by the way, I've been a huge critic of Patrick Mahomes, as you know, forever. He's learning to play quarterback. He's now thrown 2 games in a row to 8 different receivers. He's learning to play quarterback. And with his arm talent, we all know about his arm talent, that's a dangerous combination. Do you agree?
Yeah, and that sidearm throw to McKinnon for the touchdown was a pretty play. I mean,
it was
outside the pocket, and he just kind of does that shortstop turning a double play kind of throw. I like it.
Yeah. All right, real quick, last week game, week 1. Any takeaways that you want to highlight that caught your attention?
Yeah, I actually have 4. I think the Vikings are better than people are giving them credit for. I know we picked the same on all 6 games last week. You and I, the only one we had different was Green Bay, Minnesota. Minnesota won that handily. We'll see this week. They got to go up to Philly and play in Philly. That's going to be a tough game for them, but I think they're better than people are giving them credit for. Also, the Broncos coach, Nathaniel Hackett, he's bad. That's all I can say. I mean, I know we got a lot of Broncos fans that watch our show, and I'm just telling you that the Broncos are a talented team, but when you can tank the talent of a team if you can't instill discipline and fundamentals in your team. They have way too many penalties, way too many defensive penalties. They made bad time management, bad decisions. It was just a poorly coached game. They're playing a team that we have as finishing potentially in the bottom 2 or 3 teams in the NFC. I know Seattle can be a tough place to play, but there was no excuse for losing that game.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, my next takeaway is a 500 record could win the AFC South. And you might say, how can you go 500? Because you play 17 games now. Well, because Houston Indy tied. So now that means Indy can go 8-1. And I think 8-1 can actually win that division. I really do.
That's a good one.
I really do.
Right.
And then my 4th takeaway is Cincinnati. I think they bounce back. I'm not giving up on Cincinnati. People might say, oh, they got the Super Bowl blues. Typically, teams that lose the Super Bowl struggle in the following year. But let's face it, they did what they had to do. They came back. All they had to do was kick an extra point, and they win the game. And that got blocked, and it forced overtime, and then they lost in overtime on the road in Pittsburgh. We'll see this week. They got to actually, no, that was in Cincinnati, wasn't it? Was that?
Yes, it was. Yes,
It was in Cincinnati. So I apologize. Yeah. But we'll see this week. They got to go on the road. They got to play Dallas. We know Dallas is a little beat up. Dak's not playing. They should be able to take care of Dallas and bounce back. So don't get all caught up in these Super Bowl blues. Cincinnati's not going to be good this year thing just because of that loss. Those are my 4 takeaways.
Well, I'll tell you what. You know what? For me, you hit it on the head right there. Dallas losing Dak Prescott for, they say 4, but I don't think he plays for more than, I don't think he comes back in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah,
so
16.
they're in big trouble because Cooper Rush, I don't think he's the worst backup in the league like G Money thinks, but he might be the 29th backup. And by the way, a game you were at last week, for us Pats fans, this team is bad. Do you agree?
It is a bad team. It's a bad football team, and we're gonna. I saw them play live. I saw every play, every down, every route. I mean, when you're at a game, when you're sitting where I sit, I'm in a 300 level of row 9 on the 50-yard line. I can see everything. And you know, you go to a lot of DC games and you get that same feel where you can see every play develop. It's much different than TV. It's much different.
Yep. Agreed.
Right? And they didn't look good, Russ. I mean, they were missing blocks. They just didn't look good at all. You know, I'm not even talking about the whole offensive coordinator situation and play calling and all. Actually, they called some pretty good plays.
They did. You're right about that. The play philosophy was good, I thought. Just execution sucked.
Execution sucked, which is talent on the field. I mean, they're just not a good football team. And I know I think I picked them to win. I think I had them at 7 and no, I think I'm at 8 and 9. I'm questioning that even at this point. I mean, they could very easily be a 5 or 6 win team this year.
I'm with you on that. So let's talk about this coming week before we do our pick 6. New England has to play Pittsburgh. By the way, there's a good chance they're going to Pittsburgh. I know you're not high on Pittsburgh, but they looked better than people thought last week against that Cincinnati team. New England, which did not, that's going to be a tougher game. We're going to pick it in a minute. But by the way, Bill is 35 and 36 in his career with the Patriots without Tom. I don't think he goes to 500, in my opinion, this week.
Yeah, or this year.
Yeah. Hey, the other thing I got to talk to you about, speaking of former Patriots or even former Patriots, Jimmy G sitting there in San Fran. Everybody says it's a bad thing that he's on the bench. Trey's nervous. Trey's not ready for prime time, in my opinion. Do you agree?
I can't use that game as I'm not passing judgment on anything about that game last week. That game was just an absolute weather fiasco. I'm not gonna. I mean, there's players that didn't do anything last week because of that. I mean, Ayuk. Everyone's high on Ayuk this year. He caught 2 balls for 30 yards. I mean, it just wasn't a good game to judge that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna.
Well, Justin Fields had the same thing, and he's the same quarterback. He got 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. I'm going to reserve my opinions till after week 2 on that one.
All right, here's all I got to say about Trey Lance before we move on real quick. I looked this up. Since 2018, his first year playing organized football at the big league level, that means college football or above. He's had 19 starts. He's thrown the ball 389 times for 31 touchdowns, 3,550 yards. You compare that to say, I don't know, maybe Mac Jones, only 1 season at Alabama, 13 starts. 402 passes, 41 touchdowns, 4,500 yards. I don't know what people were looking at when they said this guy was a number 2 pick. There's not enough video evidence out there. He hasn't played enough or thrown enough balls, in my opinion. So that's my thought. All right. By the way, TB12 goes to New Orleans. We're going to pick this game momentarily, but are you a little concerned? He's 0-4 in his Tampa Bay career against New Orleans in the regular season. I think the last time he ever won in New Orleans, outside of the playoffs, I actually didn't play in the playoffs at New Orleans, was when you and I went there a number of years ago, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, and the receivers are beat up. So I mean, are we going to pick that now, or are we just?
No, we'll pick him momentarily. We'll let that saute a little bit.
There's too many receivers that are beat up too. So we'll see. I mean, if Evans can get on the field, and of course you got Fournette who's healthy, and if some of those other receivers can get on the field, Gage, and he might be okay.
All right. Let's do a little pick 6 then. You ready?
Yeah, let's do our pick 6, man. Oh, so last week.
Yeah, what do you got?
Me and G Money went 5-1. You went 4-2 in week 1. So
All right.
we're all off to a pretty good start.
All right. Bengals at the Cowboys. We already talked about Dak. We already talked about Cincinnati with their little problems. Hangover. You say no. I say their offensive line sucks. What do you think?
Yeah, but I think they can beat Dallas. It's a bounce back game for them because they lost their opening game at home to Pittsburgh in overtime. That was a tough loss to take, and people are already kind of writing them off as Super Bowl hangover type situation. I think you go with Dallas and get it done. So I'll take a Cincinnati.
By the way, I'm going to pick a team that everything's been written off because of an injury. I'm going to take the Cowboys because of their defense only. I think they shut down Joe Burrow. They win this game like 17-12.
Yeah, Micah Parsons could sack Burrow like 5 times in this game. So we'll
That's
see.
what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. I got the Cowboys. All right. Cardinals Raiders. Our boy one, the G Money, thinks that LA is great. Chargers are awesome because they beat the Raiders, and because Kansas City lost to the Cardinals, he thought they sucked, but the KC beat them last night. So we get to see a rematch there, the opposite, I should say, of those other two teams. Cardinals go to the Raiders. What do you think in this game?
Yeah, I'm not high on the Cardinals, but we all picked them to miss the playoffs this year after making it last year. They got some struggles there. At Vegas played a tough game last week against the Chargers. I'm going to take Vegas in this one.
Yeah, G Money has Vegas. I'm going to go Vegas as well. I think that Derek Carr finds a way to win this game, but it will be closer than people think. Hopefully it's a barn burner. We'll see. All right. Probably the game of the week, in my opinion. Vikings, I know you were high on them. You picked them last week. Yeah. They go out to Philadelphia this week. Philadelphia had an impressive win as well, but they gave up a lot of points to Detroit. What do you think?
They did. And I had this team going 10-7. I have them winning the division, even though they'll tie. I had them tying Dallas at 10-7 before the Dak injury. So I think they're the clear favorites to win the East, but they're not as good as like G Money had them like 13-4 or something. They're not a 13-4 team. And I think Minnesota is a solid team. That their defense is improved. They obviously have ridiculous offensive weapons. Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins could be the best trio in the NFL. I think that's enough to if Detroit put up 35 on them, I think Minnesota can easily do that too. So I'm going to take the Vikings.
Ooh, G Money's got. Of course, he's got Philadelphia, but I'm with you. I'm taking the Vikings in this one.
All right.
Your Fins. They go to Baltimore. Tua gets to play against Lamar. Lamar last week was just simply Lamar. 3 touchdown passes. What do you think?
Yeah, and last year, I mean, Miami just annihilated the Ravens on Thursday Night Football. I know that was down here in Miami, but that was before they had the offensive weapons that they have now and the offensive line that they have now and the new running backs that they have and Tyreek Hill and everything else. I think they score on the Ravens. I think they'll establish a run game against the Ravens as well. I think they beat them. I think they score points. They're getting, I think, 3.5. I think this will end up being a field goal type game. So I would take the points all day long, but I think they can go in there and beat them straight up. So I'm going to take the Dolphins.
Lamar is on his vengeance tour for his contract. He's still healthy. I agree with G Money. Ravens win, and I think they win big.
Okay. We'll
all
see.
right. Here we go. This was a tough one for all of us true blood Patriots fans. Tampa Bay goes to New Orleans. We said it earlier. Brady has never won against New Orleans in the regular season as a Tampa Bay Buck. I saw the injury report today. All the top 5 receivers are on IR or question, I should say. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I watched Tampa Bay play Dallas that whole game, obviously, last week. And Tampa Bay's defense they're solid, man. They're a good defense. I mean, I don't care. I know they only scored 1 touchdown and they beat Dallas, right?
Yeah.
And they beat them handily. They beat them by 12, right? It was 19-7 was the final, I think.
Yep.
So if they can score 1 or 2 touchdowns against New Orleans and their defense plays like they did against Dallas, there's no reason why they can't shut down that offense to me. So I know there's a little bit of a curse going on here with Tom since he's been a Buccaneer not being able to beat the Saints, but I think that gets broken in this game and the Bucs win. I'm gonna take the
By the
Bucks.
way, you said it. Bucks gonna have to probably run the ball a lot more in this game, and Atlanta ran it down the Saints' throat last week. So I'm with you. I like the Bucks on that. I know G Money likes the Saints, but I'm with you. Tampa Bay takes this game.
All right.
All right, last game. New England plays Pittsburgh. I know you said, hey, PB, you told me Pittsburgh wins 5 games this year. They're 1-0. If they go 2-0, listen to this. In the last 20 years, of all the teams that went 2-0, the worst team was Detroit in 04. They went 6-10. All right, so what happens in this game?
Yeah, and I hate to pick against the Patriots, and I hate picking for the Steelers. I just don't. That's not how I operate typically. That's not how I roll. I just don't. I mean, it's a hard thing for me to do and say, but based on what I saw last week, I know Belichick is going to be in the film. He's going to be studying. He's going to try to figure stuff out. And I know that they can potentially run the ball against the Steelers front seven. I'm not gonna fall victim to being a homer and taking the Patriots just because I like them. I gotta go with the Steelers here. It's at home. They got a little bit of momentum coming off of that game, win on the road in overtime. And I think they win. I really do. I think Pittsburgh wins this game. I hope I'm wrong on this one. This is the one game I hope I pick wrong. But I'm going with my head, and I think the Steelers win. But I still think the Patriots will still only win their 5 or 6 games. And I think the Steelers, despite starting 2-0, will still only win 5 or 6 games.
History's against you on that. History's against you. If Pittsburgh wins that, there's no way they only win 5 games.
And one other thing, too. Remember last year, the Steelers started 10-0. And then they lost like 7 of their last 8 games or something like that. So they're capable of folding it up and tanking for the end of the year. So they can start 3-1 or 4-1 or whatever. And I still will pick them to win 5 games.
By the way, you know what? You have one thing going for you. TJ Watt's out. I know they say he's only going to be out for 4 or 6 games with that that chest, but that's an injury that usually you're out for a year for. His brother's had it. He's never been the same since he had it as well. JJ, right?
Right.
So we'll see. But I'm taking Pittsburgh. I know G Money, he's taking New England. He's a little bit of a homer, so we'll see. All right, that's a wrap on our show, fans. PB, good show, man. Talk to you soon.
All right.